Chicago's budget. We're broke. We're going to have no money. No money pretty soon. Mayor's budget proposal rejected by City Finance Committee as process has been kicked into overdrive. No, not Kick, like the live streaming platform. Much love to Kick. To December, the city's finance committee voted decisively against Mayor Brandon Johnson's 2026 revenue ordinance, which means, Mayor Brandon Johnson kicked in the gut again. You can't use the distraction of ICE anymore, which I would have to say, um, I keep telling people Chicago's going to be a war zone. What do you mean? It sounds like you want it. No, I don't want Chicago to be a war zone, but politically, socially, financially, economically, spiritually, this city is a powder keg ready to blow. And look, ICE leaving, winding down its operations. They're not fully leaving, they're just winding it all down. They said they're going to be back in the spring and summer. So, hot time in the summer in the city and during the 2026 midterm election cycle. Great. How's that going to work out? Because then we go into 2027 and that's a city election cycle. Okay. So, whoop de doo. We are $1.1 billion in the hole. Chicago is a major metropolitan city. We will be broke. This city is struggling. This city is hurting bad financially. And Mayor, not 6.6%, Mayor, 5% approval rating. When I was last on the Jimmy Dore show, I said that Mayor Brandon Johnson had 6.6 approval rating. It's now down to 5%. Okay. So I don't know who's going to vote for him. Only those lame enough to show up are going to show up. And when you're more hated than Lori Lightfoot, you are an all-time, all-star, superstar, professional in regards to how not to get reelected again. Mayor Brandon Johnson thinking about throwing his hat in the ring again for 2027 is probably the dumbest thing he could ever do because if he were to get reelected, I would be shocked. This election, mark my words, it's going to be a big one. And if it's not, holy cow. But let's talk a little bit about it. First of all, as it stands, the City Council's Finance Committee on Monday voted against Mayor Brandon Johnson's latest 2026 budget proposal. And it's of course, many of the aldermen are just saying that it just outright doesn't work. In regards to the aldermen who voted for it, 25 voted against Mayor Brandon Johnson's budget proposal, and only 10 supported it. I'm surprised that number's that high. The budget is a disaster, said one alderman during a press conference, who opposed it and said we have to go back to the drawing board. A major sticking point has been over the proposed corporate head tax cut or corporate head tax, which progressive groups and some city council members argue is an opportunity to force wealthy corporations to support public safety programs. But the idea has drawn opposition from Governor J.B. Pritzker and business groups who have labeled it a job killer. I recently played on this show in which one alderman in particular was confronting Governor J.B. Pritzker. For those who think that Chicago and the Chicago Democrats and all the politicians here are all friends and high-fiving each other, no. ICE was just that temporary unity. Soon as they're gone, or at least winding down their operations, you guys watch and see. Knives are out. They don't like each other. There's blood in the water. Chicago's going to be a war zone. Not only economically where people are struggling, but politically too. This is a hyper-segregated city in which everyone's going to be caring about their corner specifically. So now you got Governor J.B. Pritzker in here. Here he was holding hands with Mayor Brandon Johnson. And now, is the honeymoon over? The answer is yes. For example, Johnson originally proposed a $21 per person per month tax that should apply to companies with more than 100 employees in Chicago. Last week, the mayor's budget team raised the threshold to 200 people in a bid to win more support from the city council. However, Monday, the threshold then returned down to 100 employees, which would bring $100 million annually to a dedicated community safety fund, according to a presentation by budget officials. Well, let's talk about this for a second here. I want to pull up something here that all of you can see. And this has to deal with one of the debates from 2023. And this has to deal with Brandon Johnson's financial tax proposal during one of the mayoral debates. I want to give a huge shout out to Jamal Green, who's I call one of the dauntless few, and called out Mayor Brandon Johnson, or then candidate Brandon Johnson, way early on.
My colleague here just put out every tax instead of a breathing tax that he wants to institute. We really can't have much more taxes in the city, or people, corporations, businesses are going to leave the city of Chicago.
The fact that no one up here has a budget plan is because they're hiding the ball behind their back. If there's anything, I'm going to tell you the truth.
You know, his plan may not raise property taxes, but it puts a tax on everything else. And the reality of the situation is that taxpayers cannot take it anymore, right? We talked about red light cameras. They need to be eliminated, period. We shouldn't be talking about equitable distribution. They need to be eliminated. We talked about the first thing that we would do is sign an executive.
All right, my apologies if the audio is very low, but it has to deal with the fact that, let me just go ahead and just address this here. In the video in particular, it was how Brandon Johnson had no political plan or financial plan for Chicago's budget. And of course, he's being called out by Jamal Green in regards for the financial security of the city and how he didn't really have that plan and how he's failed to implement that plan throughout his entire tenure as mayor. Case in point, I want to pull this up here. Audio is a little bit better on this one. So let me go ahead and get that set up for all you lovely, beautiful people. Apologies for the low audio. Let me get this set up here.
Pay attention right now. Call your alderman if you live in the city of Chicago and tell them to vote no on Brandon Johnson's tax proposals. We are in a state of emergency in our city where they are about to take grandma's house because they just increased the property taxes dramatically on Friday. Mine went up $4,400, almost 100%. For next year. People all across the city got an increase in their property taxes, the biggest property tax hike in decades. And let me tell you why.
And it sucks. So people asking how Chicagoans are feeling. Oh no, like literally, our balls are on fire. You know, hey, I'm going to include the ladies in here too. The JJ's on fire. Everything's on fire. And no, you don't need to. The doctor can't cure it because guess what? There's no cure for stupidity in the city council or the mayor's budget plan because this city's deep in the hole and there ain't no pullout. It's a sloppy mess. And oh boy, hey, duck and cover and run, dip, dodge, and dive again or dodge again. Oops, I screwed it up because there's no fixing the financial stupidity of Mayor Brandon Johnson.
Why? Is because businesses downtown are leaving. Over a third of downtown is vacant right now. We're walking through downtown and you see it's a ghost town most of the day. And now what happened is those properties, they got devalued because nobody is in them. And so they shifted the burden to people on the south and west sides of Chicago to pay those taxes, as well as the fact that they have bloated the budget for many years. Do y'all know? I'm gonna show y'all a stat sheet here. Do y'all know that our budget has increased $6 billion since 2019? What the hell are we spending this money on? Let's talk about it. We spent $1 billion on migrants. We're spending billions of dollars on programs and things that don't work. And now what they want to do is they want to put a tax, a corporate head tax on businesses that are still downtown. And what they're going to do is they're going to leave. They're going to use AI to replace workers. They're going to send their workers to the suburbs. And that is going to increase property taxes on the south and west side of Chicago even more. And guess what happens when you don't pay your taxes? They take grandma's house. This is a state of emergency. Y'all better understand this. Call your alderman right now and tell them to vote no on this tax proposal. What Brandon Johnson must do is he must make cuts and right size our budget back to where it should be, not continue to tax us to death. Let's look at some of the tax proposals that he's also including in his budget. Check out these extra taxes they want to put on us.
Now, all of this right here is just terrible. Now, to be clear, there is a growing political movement of Chicago Flips Red, but there's also been other independent organizations and third-party groups that are essentially establishing themselves as a counter to what the Democrats could be setting up in 2027. But I don't envy anyone or any political party that will sit upon the throne that was created by Old Man Daley decades before yours truly was ever even born. Whoever will inherit the throne of Chicago will inherit a city that's not only been on fire, but has been burnt through, that has been crushed with opposition, stupidity, failed leadership, and madness that's been going on unchecked. Now, us becoming a sanctuary city was a terrible plan. There was additional pain on the budget, and how that was handled and how all those migrants were handled is appalling and abysmal. Shame on the city council for doing this, and also shame on all those who thought Chicago can hold being a sanctuary city. We were not ready for it. We were never ready for it. And again, all it did is cause more rage, anger, and financial instability. There's still lead in our drinking water. There's still unchecked corruption. How did we get here? Mismanagement. And now their whole plan now is, yeah, they're talking about taxing those corporations. And we know that's not going to happen. This is America. All of it's going to fall upon the average citizen. Chicago is bleeding out people. The beating heart of Chicago is not the fancy landmarks or the shiny buildings. It's the people, the families and generations that called this city home for so many years. And how can people survive in this now?
Look at all this. Wheel tax, property lease tax is going to increase. Limited business licenses are going to increase. Food business licenses are going to increase. This is what he wants to do. Check this out. A new increase in the rideshare congestion fee. So if you're going downtown, you're going to spend more money because you're traveling downtown in an Uber or in a Lyft. Look at all of these different fees. A social media tax he wants to put in. We cannot take this anymore. Call your alderman and vote no right the hell now. And real quick, look at our budget in 2019, 10.67 billion. And today is 17.1 billion. In 6 years, $6.5 billion.
How that happen? How did all that happen? Again, Miguel H. says freedom cities. And this city will be doomed if we don't have the proper leadership. I want to pull up something else here, too. This is from local news here in Chicago.
This budget battle shaping up to be the Chicago version of the federal government funding stalemate. The mayor standing firm on his plan to tax the rich and big corporations, while half of the city council said today that there is more work to be done to trim the budget down. The debate over the corporate head tax coming to a head today in the city council's finance committee.
The negotiating, last minute negotiating, with people getting into the closet to try to make deals, really just tells you how bad this budget is.
The closet is where the mayor's chief advisor, Jason Lee, was trying to wrangle last minute support to kill a vote against Johnson's revenue plan.
Can we get this vote done now? Can we get to my colleague's motion? This is a joke. They're calling people out there right now to delay this.
Lee then getting called out on the council floor, blowing kisses to alders as he left the chamber.
No, that's not how you maintain confidence, blowing out kisses. But okay, I'll take a kiss. I'll grab one and be like, I love you too, and then flip you off.
By a vote of 25-10, the finance committee then shot down the mayor's revenue plan with his head tax.
The message is so strong, so clear, and pretty transparent from the taxpayers. They want us to go back and find those efficiencies, find the cuts, and not continue to stick them with new taxes.
The mayor portraying this budget battle as one between working people and big corporations.
Here's what I do know. It's property taxes, garbage fees, grocery taxes.
Danny says, is the Corn Hub considered social media? Asking for a friend. In this day and age, I'm going to say yes, probably. But, it's nothing to be too proud of. Hey, are you on the hub? Hey, follow me there. No one should normalize that. How did that get normalized? Have I been sleeping under a rock? Apparently so.
Or layoffs. Or we can actually protect working people. That's what this budget does.
Alders emboldened by last year's successful defeat of the mayor's plan to raise property taxes.
I don't think any of us believe that they have reached their maximum level of efficiency yet, because it has been our past practice that the more we push back and say no, the more they come back and say, oh, by the way, look what we just found.
The mayor calling for opponents to tell him where to cut the budget. I pushed the mayor on the head tax.
So just to be clear,
you are not backing down on the head tax whatsoever. It's
I'm
going to
not-
be in your budget.
I'm not backing down in protecting working people, right? That's the
Well,
part
that's kind of dodging the question. If you
No, it's not.
Thank you for a non-answer.
Well, hold on a second. What's a non-answer? The corporate tax is in this budget. It will stay in this budget. Is that clear enough?
the mayor had been pushing
It's the same mayor who just always gets upset at the media now. I mean, even Lightfoot was a little bit more presentable when she was being questioned by the media. And this same Lori Lightfoot, who just had an attitude with anybody who questioned her. But my goodness, Mayor Brandon Johnson, he always gets perturbed and angry. I mean, kind of explains that a lot of his attitude and just overall just how he's been rolling things around. But in my opinion, the fact that he has gotten a whole bunch of no's. Now, look, corporations, yeah, they're able to get away with this. I, for one, have to say, the burden should not be put upon working class citizens, but I fear that that's what's going to happen. You want this city to die? You want this city to become one big old graveyard? Keep on taxing the citizens. This is the problem that the politicians are all going to have to figure out, but the burden should nowhere at any point in time be put upon the citizens of Chicago. And before anyone types in the comment section, oh, well, you Chicagoans voted for this. No, actually, no, we did not. Let me tell you something. Voter turnout in this city has been abysmal because of the Democrat machine that incentivized people not to show up, except for sycophants and party loyalists. You want to talk about voter enthusiasm? There is no enthusiasm because of the machine. It's the machine that chews us up and spits us out. The machine that was able to take over. The machine that bullied its way, that continues to operate even long after an election is over. You want to talk about the morale of the people of Chicago? Yeah, it's at an all-time low, but there is now a growing fury that's happening here. But what I want to say to people who think that either flipping Chicago red or independent or anything of that nature, just remember, this is the machine we're talking about, not the Democrat machine. Because I want to give a shout out to my colleagues, my good friend, Dr. Nick, shout out to him because he corrected me. It's not a Democrat machine. It's a political machine. That political machine will consume said candidate and make them part of the machine because that's how it operates. It has to be dismantled, blown up, shredded, shot at, however which way you want to call it. That machine must go away, period. And any political affiliate that's going to sit upon the throne of the mayor of Chicago needs to actually step up and lead, because what you will have isn't a pot of gold. It'll be a pot of crap. You have to deal with ICE coming back here in the city. You have to deal with the fact that the city's hyper segregated. You have to deal with the fact that everything is falling apart. And now what? More tax burdens upon regular citizens, as if the people of Chicago haven't suffered enough. We need a full-on relief here. And that also starts by reversing the policies that previous mayors have implemented. But we will see. Where will these politicians vote? How will they vote? Will they actually even have a budget? Well, they're kicking a can down the road for next month or in December. Well, you could kick the can down the road for so long until you run out of road, and oh no, that can just fell off a cliff, and all of Chicago's going along with it. We don't solve this now. The mayor wants to say that, violence in the city is at an all-time low. Wait till people have nothing left to lose. These politicians are not prepared with the overall rage that's been boiling in this city. Chicagoans are usually chill until they have no reason to be chill anymore.